Hey everybody, it's EJ from iDesign.com, and today we're going to be talking about simple character animation inside of Cinema 4D. So what does that mean? Well, first we're going to be doing a very simple character like this little sushi guy right here. We're going to be animating him, we're going to do the facial movements and stuff like that, and basically just how you can creatively animate in Cinema 4D without needing to know how to rig or do any kind of IK or anything like that, but just using deformers, pose morph, and some other tips and tricks and other cool stuff to animate a simple character such as a little sushi guy right here. So let's just go ahead and jump in and animate this little dude. Alright, so simple character animation. We're going to be using deformers, pose morph, just a little bit of pose morph, and just some kind of tips and tricks on how to animate simple faces and stuff like that. So here I have a little piece of sashimi with some sushi on top, and we're gonna animate this guy. But first, we want to add a face. We need a face for this guy. So let's go ahead and like I said, this is gonna be a very simple character. So the eyes are basically just gonna be little spheres. And we're going to make this a child of the salmon guy here. And so let's just position this over here. And really what we could do, I guess, is use a symmetry and place that sphere underneath there. So now we have symmetrical eyes. And kind of adjust the size and the spacing of where we want this. Move that down a little bit. Make sure it's kind of intersecting the little piece of rice here. And basically this rice is just some noise and displacement channel. And with our cell shader, using the light in my scene, and I have tons of tutorials all about cell shaders and lighting and stuff like that. But basically the displacement with the lighting and the shading here, you see we have a slight light blue, and you're getting this really nice texture for that for the rice ball that makes up our sushi guy. And then there's our main light in our scene, so everything kind of updates with the direction of our light, so you can see that's really picking up the nice displacement on the little rice ball. That's looking good, so I'll just leave it as so. So let's actually texture our eyeballs. So let's go ahead, create a new material. We'll rename this eye. And we're going to do some cell shader for this as well. So let's go ahead and first apply our material to our sphere, and let's just do some renaming. So this is the eye symmetry, this is our eye, and so now we need to go and grab our cell shader, handy dandy cell shader, and we're just gonna make a little highlight so you can see it update in our scene. We're gonna make this white. We're going to have a nice white highlight and then just black. And you can see that it's using our camera as the light source. We don't want that. We want to use the lights in our scene. And actually the light in our scene looks pretty good. Sometimes the light won't pick up the highlight very well. So let's just, for example, say that we like the lighting in our scene like this. You can see that our highlights kind of blending into our rice. So if we wanted to, I'm actually not going to do it in this instance because I think it looks okay, is you could just create a separate light and just use this as the eye light and go ahead and say, okay, in the project, I want to just include the eye symmetry, and we can exclude, in the main light, exclude those eyes. Let's see if that works. I think we might have to go into our cell shader and go and exclude this main light. Or actually, maybe include. Go ahead and include the, yep. We'll include the eye light here. And there we go. So now we can adjust just this eye light and that'll update our eye highlight. So I went and did that already anyway, so maybe I'll just keep that. Don't need any shadows, so the eye light, that's going to include that. See, that actually affecting? Yep, so that's only affecting our eyes. And then we can adjust the main light, and that will not affect our eye at all. So now we have two different lights, both controlling different things. So now we have full control over that specular highlight on our eye. And that's all well and good. So we want just to shrink it down just a tiny bit. Boom, looking good. Looking good. So there's our eyeballs. Now he needs a mouth, right? So let's go ahead and give this guy a mouth. So what you could typically do is go ahead in Photoshop and like draw a mouth, import it as a texture and all that good stuff. But what I'm going to do, and it's a workflow I like to use, is using a spline shader to create our mouth. And so spline shader, if you're familiar with the spline shader, I have a couple tutorials about it, and I use it for text as a material. So let's go ahead, let's create a new material here, and we'll name this mouth. Turn off color, we'll turn off luminance, and we'll give it like whatever color we want to have our mouth. So maybe like a pink or a reddish kind of thing going on. Turn off reflectance. And now in our alpha, we're going to turn that on. And we are going to apply let's find it, all the way, where is it? Effects, there we go, spline. So you'll see by default, this just loads up some text. And like I said, you could typically use this to just use text as a material. So you can do sushi, and that updates. Of course, we have to like scale this down in here just so it can fit. So usually 50-50 or something like that. And then we also need to center this up in our view here. And typically, I think if I do 50 and 50, that should... Nope. No, that doesn't. Actually, if I align this, yep, and 50, there you go. 50 and 50 usually, if you're working with an actual spline, will center that. But we're not going to use this for text. So we're going to turn off this text spline because that's on by default. And what we're going to do is just build a spline and drag and drop it in here and use that to project a spline as a texture. So let's go ahead. Let's move this out of the way. Let's create a spline. So let's go into our front view here, and we're just going to draw a mouth on this guy. Have a nice, happy, smiley mouth. He's so happy. And just kind of tweak this a little bit and make sure these lined up. Cool. I think that looks good. Gonna do the line to the center there, and cool. So this is our mouth, and it's just a spline, so it's not going to render or anything like that. The first thing we need to do is go back into our material editor and define the spline we want to use to create our little texture. We're going to drag in that mouth thing we just drew, and you can see that now we have this little like lipstick kind of lips thing going on. So let's go ahead and apply that to our little rice ball here, and you can see that it applied to our little sushi guy. He looks like a clown or something. Move this out of the way, and then we can just adjust this. We can do let's see, flat. That's good. Yep, flat. And then we'll untile it. We don't want it to tile. And that's already looking good. That's all lined up and nice. But we actually just want to fill this spline with a color. So again, this is in our alpha. So we're using the color from our luminance. And you can see that we have this outline. So we have this fill option where you can use you can fill that with color. And there you go. So we just filled up that shape with our color and our luminance there. So the thing to keep in mind is that you'll see that our original spline has sharp edges, but you can see that we actually have rounded edges, and that's due to the fact that by default we have a line width. So basically it's this, it strokes our spline that we made. We can kind of tone this down. I actually like a little bit of this line thickness or this line width because it rounds out the edges of the mouth without me having to actually go in and edit the spline itself. So the great thing about using this is, number one, you have to go into Photoshop and make edits in there. You can do all of your edits in here. And the nice thing as well is we can go into this mouth and say that maybe that's a little bit too wide. Let's go ahead and maybe scale this down a little bit. Go ahead and adjust these points. And what will happen is that'll actually automatically update in our view here. And right now it's only showing the outline. We can actually fix this by using a fill color and then just going and loading in a color. And now it'll actually look correct in our viewport. Let's turn off our light visibility in here. Now we can actually see our smile. And we can move this around, and you'll see that that won't actually automatically update. And the reason for that is because we're technically animating a material, and we need to go into the editor here and turn on that animate preview. And now that'll update like so. Cool. So basically now we can just animate this spline to create, you know, to make our sushi dude talk. But we'll mess around with that a little bit later. So we got the mouth. The mouth's good. We can turn this. I think we can turn that off and still remain. Yep. We'll turn that off just to clean up our viewport here. And the next thing we can do is start animating this guy. We got the face going. Let's group this and rename this eyes. And actually, let's put the mouth in there, and this will just be face. And I can spell face. There we go. And so now we have all the face structure, face features in one under one null. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this sushi kind of get surprised and jump up in the air like he's just really super surprised, got caught off guard. I don't know. Maybe he saw one of his sushi friends being eaten, but he's kind of freaked out. So what we're gonna do is the way we're gonna animate all of this stuff is by using a pose morph. And I love using pose morph because you can animate separate things with just one slider control. Let's go ahead, go to character tags, go to pose morph, and you'll notice that I put it on the face. So basically what I want to do is control both the movement of the points of my mouth spline as well as the size or scale of my eyes here. So the things I want to control is just for the heck of it, let's just say we want to control position. We need to control points because we're going to be moving the points on our spline, so on the mouse spline. So we're going to need to record the point position. Parameters we're going to need because we're going to be adjusting the parameters of our sphere, so radius and stuff like that, to kind of make his eyes grow with surprise. And hierarchy. So if we have hierarchy enabled, it'll not only record everything on the object that the tags apply to, but also all of the children underneath that object's hierarchy. So not only this null, but everything under it. So make sure you have that hierarchy selected, or it will only look at the object that tags applied to. Okay, so now we can go to our tag. We already have our base pose already set up. So our first pose, we're going to double click and rename this to surprise. And now we can just start editing things. And let's just increase the eye size so he's really surprised, like, what? And we can adjust the mouth here. So instead of a smile, he's going to have like a really, he's going to get like a oh, like face like that. He's going to do his O face. And let's go and just make this into more of an O. And again, this is all being recorded. All of these changes we're making are being recorded in our pose morph. So that's looking good. We have his mouth. We'll select all of these and maybe shrink it even a little bit more. So that looks good. And this is all stored. So now if we bring our strength down, you'll see that we're going from surprised and adjusting the strength and going back to our base pose. So all we have to do is keyframe that strength, and that makes him super surprised looking. One thing I forgot to do is another thing I like to do with my eyes. So I already have my pose morph selected. If you want to make any kind of changes at all, make sure you're in your edit mode on your pose morph and make sure you're on your base pose. So now you can start to do stuff without screwing everything up. So we're just modifying the base pose. So let's go ahead. And the one thing I'm going to do is kind of make a little cheeky kind of look for his eyes. And I'll show you what I mean about cheeky. So what I like to do to add a little bit more cuteness or character to the eyes is go ahead and get a, where is it? A melt deformer. I'm going to be using a lot of deformers in weird ways in this tutorial. So I'm going to make this a child of the eye. And you'll see that it's squashing our eyes here. And that's not really what we want. Let's bring the strength down to 0. Let's turn the radius. Let's give it a little bit of strength. Turn the radius down. We're going to get rid of all these vertical randomness and the melted size. We're going to make just make that 100. We don't want any noise. So basically what I'm going to do, if I move this melt down, is turn the radius, bring the radius up, and let's move this. Let's see, which side is this on? Let's move this underneath and center that underneath the actual eye that we want. So that's looking good. The radius, you can see what's going on here. And actually this melt, you can see what's going on. If I move this up, you can see what I mean by that little cheeky eye looking thing. So it looks like his cheek is kind of covering the bottom of his eye. And we can turn on the symmetry object again. So this is just kind of giving a little bit of character to our eyes. And we can go ahead and adjust the fall off. So right now it's pretty sharp. What if we wanted to kind of make a little bit of fall off? So we'll make some linear fall off, orient this to the positive Y. Now it's looking up, and we'll just adjust our fall off so it's not so sharp. You can see what's going on now where it's not so sharp. So you can see the difference between the two. We have this sharp edge. Maybe that's what you want, but I like to have just a little bit of fall off, just so it's a nice, nicer rounded edge. And the nice thing about this is you can then just adjust how much cheeky eyes you want just by adjusting where the melt deformer is. So with our melt deformer added, we can go back to our surprised pose, and we'll just move this melt deformer down because we actually don't want any of that kind of cheek showing on our eyes. So we'll just move that melt deformer down. And now you can see that that has now been recorded onto that surprised pose there. Cool. So one other thing while I'm in here is if you want to, say, keyframe a blink. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll just add another pose. And this will just be the blink pose. And this is going to be very easy because the only thing we're going to edit now is just the scale on our eyes. So that's just very simple. That's the blink. What'd I do? What'd I do? All right, let's delete that. I don't know what I did there. I think I did something wrong here. Oh, you know what I did? I know what I did. So this, so let's go back to our pose, and you'll notice I adjusted the scale on my eye. The reason why it didn't record is because I'm a ding dong, and I didn't have this recording scale. So let's turn that on. So this happens all the time. So it's actually good that I did this. So if something's not working, you probably didn't enable something you should have. So scale's enabled. Now it's going to start recording scale and all that stuff. And now I can go ahead, add a new pose, blink, name this blink, and now I can adjust the scale of the sphere. And now, there we go. Now we have our nice little blink action going on. And actually, you can see that we have it's kind of like a flat ball. So what I can do is kind of shrink not only on the Y, but on the Z as well. Cool, I think that's good. All right, so there's our blink, there's our base pose, and there's the surprise pose.